swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
All right, this is the Fly the W podcast. We are on the heels of a great series in the wild card round. It's episode number 57 of season number 4. And Crawly, the Cubs do win the wild card series, and it is now on to Milwaukee. And we're happy to be part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen. Don't forget to download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully & Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawly's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. And boy, Dustin, last time that the Cubs were in a postseason series like this was 2017, right? Like I was there in 2018 for the game 163 and the wild card one game. But it's been a while, you know, since I just went to Wrigley 3 games in a row. I went to the games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 9 years later, I'm not as young a man as I used to be. It takes a little toll on you, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I was tired and I sat on my couch, right? I'm just saying, I totally get it. I mean, a lot of people put in a lot of hard time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and we're not even players. You know, we're just fans watching this thing, and so yeah, it's a lot, and hopefully the Cubs have got enough rest, got enough energy, got enough caffeine, whatever else they need to be ready. Because I just saw from Marquee, I saw them walking out of Wrigley Field and getting on buses and heading north of the Cheddar Curtain, as I like to say.
Yep, I'll be doing the same thing tomorrow. I'll be at all the series in Milwaukee. My guy Steve says, "What's up, guys? Great time." Steve came in from Arizona just to go to the series. We caught games 2 and 3 together and hung out after game 1. It was an unbelievable atmosphere down there, Dustin. I saw 670. The score was down there. I saw Rahimi Harris, and I got a picture with Mark Grody, who used to do pre and post game for the Cubs. Just the energy down there was just unreal, man. I'm sitting there, and it just makes you sometimes like you forget just the vibe of playoff baseball is just completely different from a normal baseball game. Normal baseball game, like you hang out with your friends, you drink beer, you talk, hey, how's the wife and kids? Here, you're just locked in. You're 100% locked in, and you live and die with every pitch. Just a totally different kind of baseball experience, but it was definitely fun.
All right, excellent. So want to get into game 1 right away. Let's run through these things. Let's relive what happened over at the Friendly Confines.
Yeah, this was game 1, and it was Tuesday night, and that's a picture of me if you're watching on the YouTube channel Marquee. And Dustin, it's just that very first game. I think there's nothing like it because they line the players up, and they do the starting lineups on both teams. John Vincent comes out and does a killer rendition of the national anthem. Fireworks are blowing off and everything. I mean, it is just absolutely ridiculous, man. And you know, you have Jake Arrieta back throwing out the first pitch. John Vincent, like I said, with the anthem. You got Matt Boyd and Nick Pivetta on the mound for their respective teams. And you know, I think that game 1 was a perfect example of postseason baseball in how the game is played and managed differently than a short series. You know, when you're doing with these short series, it's not like you don't play it, you don't coach it, nothing like a normal baseball game. We talked about in the last episode how the weird start times and weather would play a big role in the series. Dustin, winds blowing in. The first batter, leadoff batter for the Cubs, Michael Busch, crushes one to deep center, but the wind's howling in, and it just turns into a loud out. Now I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, you know, we need those home runs to go out. Top of the second, Boyd runs into some trouble. Jackson Merrill, who is the runner-up to Paul Skeens for Rookie of the Year last season, leads off with a hustle double. Xander Bogaerts, who missed almost the entire last month with a fracture in his foot, he crushes a double against the wall. PCA tries to throw him out at second. Ball hits the ground, deflects off Nico's glove. A run is in, and the error charged to PCA allows Bogart to advance to third. But Dustin, the Hall of Famer, Pat Hughes, like he likes to say sometimes a turning point moment can happen early in a game, right? Cubs are down 1-0, runner on third, no outs, but the Padres cannot push a run across as Boyd and the defense got a ground out, a pop out, and a ground out to add the threat. Now, Boyd got in a little trouble in the fourth. Manny Machado, we'll say his name a lot, drew a leadoff walk. The Padres played some small ball, has Jackson Merrill bunts. Manny advances to second, 1 out. Xander Bogaerts would single to put runners at the corners. But once again, Boyd and the defense would strand the runners at third with a pop out and a fly out. On the other side, Dustin, Nick Pivetta was mowing down the Cubs.
He was awfully good. Yep, he was awfully good.
After Nico hit a 1-out single in the first, Pivetta sat down the next 11 batters with ease. Bottom of the fifth, crowd quiet and nervous with Pivetta rolling and then the Padres up 1-0, right? Everything changes when Seiya Suzuki, who was named the National League Player of the Week on Monday, he had 5 home runs in his last 4 games. He crushes a ball through the wind 424 feet. And I went to game 1 with my son and I told him, that one place you can probably get it is right by that scoreboard, which is blocking the wind, right? It was 112 miles off the bat, but it was a perfect launch angle, like 20 degrees. So a laser home run that was by the left field scoreboard ties the game as 1. Dustin, it was just really one of the few mistakes that Pivetta makes. Look at this right here, this picture, if you're watching. That was the only mistake he makes. Center to
found a lot of the white. Found a lot of white of that plate. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you could just see it right there. That ball's going to get crushed. But then, Dustin, the next batter, Carson Kelly, hits a home run. Now, this one right here, this wasn't a bad pitch. If you're looking at this pitch right here, that's like right above the zone. It's barely clipping the top of the zone.
Now, wasn't that the scouting report though? Also on Pivetta, right? A lot of high heat from that guy, so he was looking for that, right? He was especially as a catcher, right? The catcher. I mean, they should all be paying attention, obviously, to the scouting report. But if anybody's going to grind on a scouting report, I've got to believe it's going to be the catcher.
Yeah, and here's the thing. What the scouting report it is, but when you see that heat and it's coming in high.
Oh, right. I don't mean it's easy. No, don't get me wrong, Crawly. I'm not saying because you got the scouting report that you're going to the Hall of Fame. Otherwise, we'd see every game go over the posted total, right? But I'm just saying, I just find it interesting that we take a look, and it's a great shot you're sharing with the group. But I think it's important to mention that this was part of the scouting report, that everything with him, if you're going to be able to get to him, it's with that high heater.
Well, it almost didn't get out, Dustin, because the launch angle on that one was 38 degrees, so it was higher, and it landed in the second row of the bleachers. My friend Steve, who I mentioned earlier, he brought up a good point after the game. He said it reminded him of the Javi Baez against the Giants. Remember one against Johnny Cueto? Mm-hmm. It was like that, like off the bat. I mean, it looked like it was going to be at the top of the bleachers, and it just kept fading and fading and fading. And it didn't land in the bleachers like Javi's, but,
But if I remember right, I mean, Javi's just barely got out, right?
Yeah, but both of them, Javi's was actually hit harder than Carson's. It's just the wind was a lot fiercer that day. Gotcha. And this one, also the wind affected it. So Cubs are up 2-1. Wrigley's rocking, but then Pivetta struck out the side after those home runs. I mean, the guy was unreal. Talk about playoff baseball. Craig will pull Matthew Boyd after 4 1/3 innings. He gave up 1 run on 4 hits, 2 Ks. Good start for Boyd. Now Craig has to somehow piece together 14 more outs. He goes first with Daniel Palencia with a runner on first and 1 out. He gets the top of the order, no problem. Gets Fernando Tatis and Luis Ariz to both line out to end the threat. But in a big surprise, Dustin, he comes back out in the 6th to face the heart of the order. He strikes out Manny Machado, strikes out Jackson Merrill, and gets Xander Bogaerts to line out for a 1-2-3 inning. He comes to the dugout screaming, and the fans are going wild. Pomerantz Kidrich also pitched 1-2-3 in the 7th and 8th. Bottom of the 8th, Cubs had some insurance. Old friend, former Cub, he's a former guest on this podcast, Jeremiah Estrada. We had him on when he was a minor leaguer with the Cubs. He goes on the mound. Dansby hits a leadoff single. Matt Shaw lays down his first sacrifice bunt of the season. Small ball. Moves Dansby to second. I mean, how much guts does it? I heard that they were working on bunts like the 4 or 5 days prior to that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's one thing to do it, another thing to do it when Estrada's throwing a fastball and splitter and all sorts of nasty pitches. But it worked. He intentionally walks Michael Busch, Runners at first and second for Nico Horner. Estrada spikes a splitter in the dirt, goes to the backstop. Both runners advance 90 feet. And then Mr. Clutch, Nico Horner, hits a sac fly. Dansby hustling all the way. He dives into home plate. Valuable insurance run. Brad Keller takes the ninth. Little drama in that one as the Padres tried to slow Keller down, like Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. These guys were like purposely stepping out of the box because they know that Keller likes to work fast. And so, there was a lot of controversy about pitch clock and all these type of things, but it was definitely, it was a fun game to be at for a game one.
Let's take another look.
Little thing to kind of look at here in this one. We knew Matt Boyd was going to start game one, but there was little concern. He was 1-3 in August with a 4.54 ERA. He was 2-1 in September with a 5.31 ERA. He finished the regular season with a good outing against the Mets, giving up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. But how would he do in the postseason? I thought he pitched well, competitively, right? Not where he was in the first half, but definitely better than what we saw in August and September.
Yeah, closer to that one game out of those 4 that we just talked about. Yes.
Right. He made the pitches he needed to, and the defense did the rest. Speaking of defense, Dansby Swanson saved the game for the Cubs with a couple of clutch defensive plays. Top of the second, back-to-back doubles. Padres take a 1-0 lead. The infield is playing in. Ryan O'Hearn hits a rocket, 102 off the bat. Dansby makes the stop, dekes the runner back to third, and throws O'Hearn's out. And that's going to save a run, right? Top of the fourth, the Cubs are still down 1-0. The Padres have runners at the corner, 1 out. Ryan O'Hearn again at the plate. He hits one that looks like one of those balls that just dies in between the infielders and the outfielders. He makes a spectacular over-the-shoulder catch, immediately throws home to make sure Machado doesn't try anything sneaky. I mean, Dansby saved a minimum 2 runs in that game to keep the Cubs in striking distance.
Yeah, he was spectacular all series long. I know we're going to talk a lot about him. Also, Seiya Suzuki, right?
Yes, yeah. We talked about that one wrong pitch but it was the wrong pitch to the wrong guy. Elias Sports Bureau noted that Seiya became the first player in MLB history with a 4+ game homer streak to end the regular season, and then homer in the first game of the postseason. So Suzuki ended the regular season by being named the NL Player of the Week, hitting safely in 7 straight games, 8 for 26, 308 from September 21st through the 28th. And in the month of September, he hit safely in 16 of 21 games. So, I mean, that was huge. And you know what, Dustin? We got to give a shout out to Craig Counsell. I know you were looking at Craig Tober.
Yep.
I mean, he literally.
Well, remember though, just to be fair, that's Craig Tember still, right? Game 1 is still. Craig Tember.
It is Craig Tember.
So
right.
just for the sake of the argument, okay? Just for the sake of the argument.
But he did.
Game 2 was in Craig Tober.
Yeah, and that didn't turn out so great. But I think he pulled Matt Boyd at the right time. I think he, going 1.2 with Daniel Palencia, I thought was an interesting move, and it paid off. Remember, he was struggling, and he came back at the end. Drew Pomerantz looked great. Andrew Kittredge, Brad Keller, everything worked out perfectly, and that's how you wanted to start game 1.
That's a great way to start game 1. So the Cubs are feeling good. They were up 1-0. And Crawly, I think something we talked about, the shadows played a role in game 1. They played a role in game 1 because when they brought Palencia in, that was right when the shadows were at the peak moment. And what was Palencia doing? Rolling 100-mile-an-hour pitches, right? And that was a big factor. All right. So game number 2, how did you consume this one? I know you were there, but you said game 1 you went with your son. How did you go? How did you handle game 2?
Game 2,
where'd you sit? All that jazz.
Game 2, I was in my seats again for the second game, this time with my buddy Steve from Arizona. And, we were, there was a bit of excitement. 90% of teams to take the opener of a best-of-3 wildcard series have advanced, right?
Yep.
But after game 1,
not only advanced, there were quite a few sweeps as well.
Yeah, like 16 sweeps.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But, after the game, we went out and we were watching Marquis on the jumbotrons. They were playing him everywhere. All the bars were playing him, but he was non-committal on who would be the game 2 starter during the press conference.
Right. Would not do it. He wouldn't go there.
And then at the end of the interviews, I think it was someone else. It was like the spokesperson for the team. He's the one that announces the Cubs would start with Kittredge, right? Which to me right away, I knew what that meant. it meant Imanaga would get the bulk, right? You'd have an opener because we've talked about this. Seiya had a 7.20 ERA in the first inning, and the best righties were the first and third hitter, right? You're talking about Tatis and you're talking about Machado. And so, it's a good idea. It didn't work out as planned. Tatis Jr. and Luis Ariz hit back-to-back singles to lead off the game. With one out, they executed a double steal. Jackson Merrill would hit a sac fly to put the Padres up 1-0. Kidridge would get out of the inning, but the goal was not to allow any first-inning runs. Didn't happen. Now, once Imanaga came into the game, that's when, for me, like the nerves kick in. He was able to dance in and out of trouble. Top of the third, he gives up a leadoff double to Freddie Fermin, works around that. Fourth inning, he gives up a leadoff walk and a single. He's able to escape that jam. He ran out of luck in the fifth inning with one out. He walks Fernando Tatis Jr., and then Tatis moves with a second on a bunt by Luis Ariz. And now with the base open and a runner on second, Manny Machado up to the plate. Shota gives up a 2-run homer to put the Cubs up 3-0. Shota pitched 4 innings, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, 2 walks and 3 Ks. But Dustin, we talked plenty about the home run ball, and it bit him. Now, even though it was only 3-0, it might as well have been 10-0. Dylan Cease looked pretty solid, but Mike Schilt, he knew it was win or go home, right? And so he gave him a very short leash. Bottom fourth, he strikes out Ian Happ and Kyle Tucker, but Seiya Suzuki doubles. Schilt put the 4 fingers down to intentionally walk Carson Kelly, and then got his lefty stud reliever, Adrian Morejon. Cease was definitely not happy to be pulled on that one after 3 2/3 innings, gave up no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. Either way, Morejon strikes out PCA to end the threat. That was a common theme here against the Padres. They struck out the Cubs 13 times on Tuesday and 11 more times on Wednesday. And so the Cubs dropped games 2, 3-0. But Dustin, let's take a look closer at what stood out in game 2 here. Just like Craig Counsell beautifully managed his bullpen in game 1, I thought Mike Schilt did the same in game 2.
Well, it was do or die for him, right? A little different.
Yeah.
Little different approach.
Little different. Right. But he didn't let Cease face the lineup more than 2 times. He went with his 3 best bullpen arms, Morejon, one of the most dominant lefties, Robert Suarez, who, remember, the Cubs were interested in the offseason. And Dustin, what can you say about Mason Miller? The Padres' big trade deadline pickup was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, lights out. And they didn't even really need him, right? I mean, they had a good bullpen before they traded. They went from being good to great.
You probably have 3 guys that could close on any other team. With Suarez, Miller, and Morejon, and you got Jeremiah. I mean, they got so many arms. But, for me, I'm watching this, and he pitched 1 2/3 innings and struck out 5 of the 6 batters he faced. The only batter that reached was Michael Busch, who was hit by a pitch, and luckily it was a slider. If he was hit by the fastball, he might be dead.
Man, he might be out for the count, no doubt about that.
Miller threw a 104.5 mile per hour fastball to Carson Kelly. Dustin, that's the fastest pitch in the pitch tracking era. That goes back to 2008. So think about all the players we've seen. And I was trying to think, did I ever see a pitch that fast in my lifetime? All the games I've been to. The answer was obviously no. And I remember seeing Aroldis Chapman hit 103 and just being blown away. This is 104.5.
Right.
As good as Counsell was in game 1 for the Cubs, the move to not walk Manny Machado or go with Michael Soroka would have been the one that stuck with Cubs fans forever if the Cubs had lost this series, Dustin.
Oh, boy.
It made 0 sense, especially after Craig.
Well, first base open too, right? I mean, first base open, that's to me, the first base open is the biggest part, is the biggest issue in all of it, right? I mean, listen, I don't mind that he trusted him, but first base was open. So instead of the worst possible outcome happened, right? The worst possible. And Machado admitted that when he faces Shota, it's one of 2 things. It's either a strikeout or it's a home run. And, well, we got a home run.
Well, here's what Counsell had to say about that decision.
What went into the decision to stick with Shota there in the 5th versus Soroka or walking Machado?
Yeah, I mean, look, the result suggested we should have done something different. Really just confidence in Shota. Plain and simple there. I thought he was pitching well. I thought he was throwing the ball really well. Unfortunately, he made a mistake.
I'm gonna disagree with Craig on this one. And my favorite manager of all time, Joe Madden, used to talk about post-outcome bias, right? It ended up being bad, so the move's bad. No, I thought the move was bad from the very, very beginning. It was not any second guessing. I either thought they should have walked him or Michael Soroka was up in the bullpen. Now, if you look at things, right? If you look at it, Shota's had good numbers against Machado in the past. Machado was 1 for 9 with 6 strikeouts. He did have 1 home run, right? But that was in 2024, Dustin, when Shota was amazing. And the first half of this season, when he pitched really, really well. Not the Shota who had an ERA of 6.51 in September and gave up 12 home runs in his last 6 starts, the majority of those home runs to right-handed hitters. So again, you could walk him or you could have gone with Soroka. But pitching to him was a mistake, and it nearly cost the Cubs this series. And I think about, like, you know, a lot of people, if you remember, do you remember Lou Piniella? People, when he pulled Carlos Zambrano early and Carlos Marmol gave up a home run against the Diamondbacks, 2007. I think about, you know, Dusty Baker not coming out in 2003 to talk to Pryor and the team after the Bartman thing or the error by Alex Gonzalez. I think about a lot of mistakes that Cubs managers had made. I still don't disagree with Joe Madden about taking out Kyle Hendricks in Game 7. I agree with Joe more that the fact that he screwed up in Game 6 by not pulling out Aroldis Chapman when they had a big lead. They didn't have a guy up and ready. I think that was more of a mistake. But those things stick with you, and that would have stuck with me. I think that'll always stick with me a little bit, regardless of outcome of what happens this series or in Craig's future with the Cubs. I just thought that was just a huge blunder. You can't do that. Again, I know you want to be rah-rah guys. Wouldn't you rather take him out and have him feel good, not giving up a home run ball and you know, keeping the game scoreless? I feel like it hurt him more than it helped him personally.
Right. Yep.
And so that takes us to Game 3, do or die. Jameson Taillon on the bump against.
What's the mood? What's the mood? You're walking in. You're around Wrigleyville during the day. You know, give us a little background.
I thought the mood was really, really positive. I don't know what was going on in Game 2. Why the environment, the atmosphere seemed different. Funny thing is, I talked to a few bigwigs around the ballpark before the game.
Bigwigs.
Jake Arrieta was supposed to leave Thursday morning on a plane.
He redid his flight,
Yeah, and he basically told the Cubs, nope, I'm sticking. Same thing with Eddie Vedder. He was supposed to leave 2 hours before game time. He calls the Cubs and says, I'm sticking. So it kind of was like everybody was all in it together. I just feel like the folks that were at that game, the way it all was, the vibe felt right. I can't describe it. It felt like there was an energy. There was a palpable excitement. You know, I was feeling good. You know, you got a 39-year-old, you know, Yu Darvish, who has elbow issues this season. He was 5-8 with a 5.38 ERA and 15 starts, and lefties were hitting 265 off of him. Now, Jameson Taillon, to me, he was obviously Cade Horton, who's not here, but other than anyone not named Cade Horton, Jameson Taillon was the best pitcher on the Cubs in September. Okay. But I knew that the key to this game was to score runs early, and then you won't have to worry about the bullpen.
Well, get base runners, right? Get a little traffic going. Take a pitch or two, right? I mean, there's all kinds of these things.
Right. And I think the Cubs did a good job of that. They just couldn't get the knockout blow that they needed. Top of the second, Kyle Tucker singles, Seiya doubles, Carson Kelly's hit by a pitch to load the bases. PCA singles, he was hitless up until that point. The Cubs are up 1-0, and Mike Schilt had seen enough. He pulls Yu Darvish, Dustin, after 7 batters. 7 batters. That's it.
Amazing. I mean, he worked one inning. One inning. I mean, if you what kind of odds do you think you would have gotten on that, Crawly? One inning of work. And the bases were still loaded for former Cub Jeremiah Estrada. Estrada walks Dansby Swanson, a bases loaded walk. Cubs up 2-0, but Estrada bounces back. He gets Matt Shaw to strike out and Michael Busch to hit into a double play. And Dustin, I just felt at that moment, I'm like, oh man, we really needed 3 there. 3 was the magic number to me. Yeah, 3 was the magic number. It was a little bit of a letdown, but I was feeling so good about it. You know what I mean? Like it was so fun that I didn't want to be down in the dumps over it, but I don't disagree with you. Like 3 would have been nice.
So my basic rule when you're sitting with me at the playoffs is no negative talk, no talking about the next game or should have done this, we try to keep no bad juju out of the way. You know what I mean?
All right.
So Jameson pitched well. He went 4 innings, gave up 2 hits, no walks, and struck out 4. Now, Thielbar is going to come in because they have 3 lefties in the mid to late part of the lineup. And unfortunately, he gave up a single to Gavin Sheets. So after getting 2 of the 3 lefties out, counsel goes to Daniel Palencia. Palencia would give up a double to Freddie Fermin, who, Dustin, he really hit the ball well, and he threw a lot of runners out at the plate. He is one hell of a catcher. But Palencia would get Fernando Tatis to fly out to end the threat. Palencia would be back out there in the 6th. He got Luis Arias to ground out, but walked Machado. But then he got Jackson Merrill to ground into a double play to end the threat. In the 7th, Palencia is still out there. He gives up a leadoff single to Xander Bogart, who also had a great series, but Drew Pomeranz came in and got the next 3 batters out. 7th inning stretch time. Ryan Dempster's about to sing it, but he calls on Jake Arrieta to help him, and he comes like walking out of I don't know if they showed it on TV. It looks like he's walking.
Of course not, Crawly. Of course not. They never do that. They never do that.
Well,
Never.
it was so awesome, and I wish I would have taped it, recorded it, because Cub fans really missed that. But he comes walking through the press box and grabs a mic to sing the stretch, and the place erupts.
I think in game 1 they gave us about 20 seconds
of Eddie
and Chelios.
So Eddie and Chelios was game 2.
That was game 2. Then it was definitely game 1. No, I'm trying to remember.
So
TV gave a little clip.
I'm just telling you, when Jake Arrieta, like, it looked like it was wrestling. It's
well,
like,
the score carried it live. I mean, yeah, exactly. The score carried it live. So I've been, like I do most games. I have Pat and Ron and Zach in my pocket, and I've got the TV going. I don't sync it up exactly. I actually like the little bit of a delay. I don't mind that, because then I go back and hear what Pat and Ron or Zach thought about what just happened. Right. So that I don't mind. So I like getting both perspectives on it. So,
Well, the energy from that stretch carried over to the bottom of the inning, because Michael Busch hit a solo home run, Cubs up 3-0, and it would prove to be a pivotal run. Brad Keller comes into the 8th. It doesn't start off well. He gives up a leadoff single to Freddie Fermin. Fernando Tatis strikes out, but then in a very foreshadowing-ish move, a wild pitch moves Fermin to second. Keller's able to get a rise of Machado to end the threat. And Dustin, you need your stars sometimes to be stars in these series. And when you look at Machado and Tatis, 2 for 22, 3 walks, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, 7 Ks. I mean, think about it. If Craig had walked Machado, they would have been 1 for 21, right? With 4 walks, right, no homers, no RBIs, and 7 Ks. So we get to the bottom of the 9th. And I remember I was so mad, Dustin. This guy's sitting there and he's pointing, he's going 3 more outs. I'm like, do not count outs do not count outs, period.
So never count outs with Crawly.
No, God, no.
Dustin, not even in the 9th?
No.
Okay. I'm asking. Take it easy. I'm just asking.
I'm still shooken from yesterday.
Well, when it's over, there's no more outs, right? When it's over.
Yes, then you can celebrate.
I
then
even
you
know
can
that.
count the 0 outs.
Okay.
It's just here's what I remember, Dustin. I was at game 6 of the NLCS in 2003, and I'll never forget the crowd chanting 6 more outs, 6 more outs, and then they get the first out, and then they're chanting 5 more outs, and that's when everything went to shit. And so I am still of the belief, man, that just 1 pitch at a time, 1 out at a time. Don't worry about counting. We all know what the score is. We all know what the counts are. Let's just 1 at a time is my theory on that.
Okay. All right.
Well, we get to the top of the 9th, and Dustin, it's never easy being a Cubs fan, right?
No. Never easy, Crawly. Never easy.
Jackson Merrill homers on a fly ball to right. That makes it a 3-1 game. Xander Bogart called out on strikes. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Then Rhino, but it looked like it should have been a walk, right? Mm-hmm. So Rhino Hearn's hit by a pitch, and Bryce Johnson is hit by a pitch. So basically, the tying run is put on base by 2 hit by pitches, and by the grace of God, the bases weren't loaded. And that's it for Keller. Andrew Kittredge has to come out, and Jake Cronenworth hits one of those stupid in-between nubbers, and Matt Shaw makes a great play, gets Ryan O'Hearn out at he gets Cronenworth out at first. There's 2 outs, but now the runners are at second and third. A single ties the game with Freddie Fermin, who was great the whole series. He flies out to Pete Crow Armstrong. I can finally exhale. I think I held my breath for 3 innings. I didn't go to the bathroom for 4 innings, even though I had to. but that was just an unbelievable way to end it. They come on the field. It was really an emotional moment, Dustin, and it was
super
a great
cool.
time.
It was fun. I had a big old sigh of relief, and then it was back to work. Right, for me, trying to make sure I caught all the good post game stuff. Bruce did a great job. David Hall was filling in for Zach on radio, so keeping an ear out for what they were doing and stuff. So
now I was just gonna say one of the big things that stood out to me in Game 3 was the defense. Bottom of the first 2 outs,
huge.
Bottom of the first 2 outs, PCA robs Manny Machado of a single. Dustin, that ball had a 10% catch probability, meaning 90% of the time they ain't making that play. Top of the fourth.
I really thought that, Crawly, I thought that set the tone, right? Like kind of set the tone for the whole game.
Yeah, it really got the energy.
Because imagine like that ball like bounces off his glove or bounces in front of him. He's on his hip. That thing rolls all the way to the wall, and it's a triple for sure. And it might be a little league home run.
It was rough, but he made that catch. Top of the fourth, Luis Ariz hits what looks like a leadoff single. Dansby goes airborne, stretches out. He doesn't catch it, but it lands in front of him, and he alertly guns it to get out Ariz, who is not hustling, Dustin. I cannot believe that. But it was another highlight reel play. Top of the sixth, one out. Dansby turns an unassisted double play that was really nice. Top of the seventh, Xander Bogaerts singles, still second, and then Jose Iglesias hits a ball that Nico, I swear to God, he just elevated, like levitated to make the catch, and it caught right at the top of the glove like a snow cone. That ball had a 3% catch probability. The crowd is chanting, Nico, Nico, just unbelievable. Ninth inning, winning run at the plate, Padres making a comeback, Drake Cronenworth on that ground ball. Matt Shaw makes a nice play. The throw beats Cronenworth by, what do you say, not even like a quarter step? I mean, it was boom, boom. Like literally the ball is caught and the foot hits the base. 5 incredible plays that helped the Cubs win the ball game. And, here's what Mike Schilt had to say about the defense, particularly Dansby.
Talking about defense, I don't think they give an MVP for this round. I'd give it to Swanson. I mean, Dansby played his tail off, man. He almost single-handedly beat us with his glove. We talk about in the modern game about the pitching, and we talk about the offense and who we're hitting for and all the things that are, appropriate to talk about in our game. But the one thing that we don't talk about as much anymore is your defense. And this time of year, your defense, and we play great defense, but Dansby Swanson absolutely beat us with his glove this series.
That's a fact. It really is the defense. And
that is super high praise, right? Super high praise.
When you think about 2016, there was a lot of great things about that 2016 Cubs World Series team. But one thing that gets overlooked is how good they were defensively. And I think that the way that this team is defensively was really, a spotlight was shown on that. Now, good praise from Michael Schilt, but I was shocked that he went with Yu Darvish in a winner-take-all game. I know he's been down that road before. I know he has experience, et cetera, et cetera. I would have gone with Michael King or Randy Vasquez or some combination of both. He just needed 4 innings and then handed over to the bullpen. I thought it was a huge mistake. I mean, maybe other people would think differently. I thought that was the Cubs' best chance, and you got 2 runs quickly. And by the grace of Jeremiah Estrada, it wasn't worse. You could have ended up putting your team behind 4 or 5 runs by starting Yu Darvish. I thought that was a big mistake. One other thing, Dustin, I do think that fans have got to stop overreacting to small sample sizes in a small series. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you. There's not going to be any crazy moves or lineup changes in the postseason, barring any injuries. You're not going to move Ian Happ or Kyle Tucker down to the bottom of the lineup. You're not going to have Mo Baller catching. You're not going to be doing weird things that you normally wouldn't do. These are your guys that got you here, and you're going to do whatever you can and hope to God. Now, again, can you flip around Seiya and Tucker? Sure. I could see something like that happen. But the way that, and keep in mind too, yes, some of it looked bad, especially for Ian Happ, especially for, Kyle Tucker in game 1. PCA looked bad in the first couple of games. Matt Shaw looked bad in game 3. You are facing some of the most nasty. I was listening to the score this morning, and I heard David Hall bring up the idea of this team was built for the postseason because of what we talked about earlier, how the postseason is different. And you got a starter that if you got a good bullpen, all you need is 4 innings, maybe 5 from your starter at best, and then turn it over to the bullpen. It's the model that the Kansas City Royals did, right, in 2015. And now you see it,
right?
Yeah, now you see it more and more and more. You're going to see not hitting with runners in scoring position. You're going to see guys take really ugly at bats, but there's a reason. And it's because these guys, Nick Pivetta, the good Dylan Cease that we saw, Mason Miller, Jeremiah Estrada, go down the list of some of the pitchers that we saw. These guys, Cease, Pivetta throwing 96 to 101 miles per hour. Suarez throwing 101 miles per hour. We talked about Miller, 104. I'm just telling you that was a really tough team to get past, but the Cubs did it. It's a testament to their fortitude. And when you think about it, this is a team that doesn't have quit. And it was an awesome moment to see them on the field celebrating. I haven't seen that since 2016 was the last time against the Dodgers.
Do you know what the deal is with Daniel Palencia and the cowbell?
I have no idea, but I did have a good video of him dancing with the cowbell outside of the dugout when they.
I don't know if there was something behind that, weird. I can't find anything. So anybody listening have any details on the on that? Please let us know. I'd love to know if there's a story behind the cowbell and Daniel Palencia.
Well, if he keeps pitching like that, he can cowbell all he wants.
He can cowbell. Watch, you're exactly right, Crawly. This is episode 57, season number 4 of the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. The Cubs win the wild card series, and it is now on to Milwaukee, or up past the cheddar curtain, as I like to say. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star review, we'll take it. Email us, Crawly's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Answer my question, please. And don't forget, you can watch us, as some of you are right now, Crawly's Clubhouse on that YouTube page. All right, so a little bracket update, Crawly. So, the wild card is done. We are on to NL and ALDSs, and all 4 series will be happening on Saturday.
Yeah, Dustin, good thing I didn't put any money down on this. I had a few of my teams got knocked out. Let's see. You said you thought the Dodgers were going to win it, which they did. I thought Cincinnati was young. They were hot. And I thought Hunter Green was going to take game 1.
The problem is that's the problem. Hunter Green got absolutely stomped, right? And that just kind of sets the tone. He got absolutely stomped.
I was stunned, Dustin. I was stunned. I was so sure. You remember what he did against the hungover Cubs, right? Like, he absolutely dominated them. And I know obviously it's a different situation, but oh my God, it looked like he just mentally lost it. I don't know
if it was playing back in his hometown, if that had something to do with the issues. But yeah, he got stomped.
And so then, obviously you and I both picked the Cubs. I thought that Detroit was just, swirling down the toilet, 15 games ahead of the Cleveland Guardians, and to blow it. And then all of a sudden, now you got them in the postseason at home for all 3 games. And Detroit, again, this is what I was talking about with when you talk about short series, those best, whoever wins 2, you got Tariq Skubal going for game 1. That gives you an advantage. And just like, when you take a look at this, the only team that didn't win game 1 was Boston, right?
Right.
And so you take a look at Cubs won game 1, Dodgers won game 1, Cleveland won game 1, and Boston won game 1. Boston's the only team that didn't advance.
Well, did the Tigers? Yeah, Tigers won game 1.
Yeah, behind Skubal.
Yeah, but it was close. Yeah, it was closer than we thought. Yeah.
Oh, it was close. And then when you take a look at the Yankees, they did what they have. So this is how you predicted it: Dodgers, Phillies. We both predicted Cubs, Brewers. I think we both said Cleveland, Seattle, and we both had Yankees and Toronto. Correct?
I believe so.
Where are we going from here? Are you changing anything now?
Well, I don't know if these cross-country flights, the Dodgers are in good form, and I believe in the rest versus rust type of thing. But the Phillies, Crawly held a workout. They got like 30,000 people to come to like an inter-squad workout. in Philadelphia. So, I mean, a lot of people are saying that that's like the National League pennant, like that series. That's not going to sit well on this podcast, but that's what people are saying. I think in these 5-game series, you could see teams that have been playing versus teams that are not. Listen, I hope the Mariners advance. I hope the Yankees advance. I think that's better for baseball. Phillies, Dodgers, I think I picked the Phillies, but either way. And of course I want the Cubs to advance.
I mean, when you think about, when you talk about Shohei Ohtani versus Kyle Schwarber, I mean, that is going to be amazing. I think that I understand why people say that that's the NL pennant right there, right? I understand why, but I've seen this happen before where two teams beat the crap out of each other and then run out of gas that next series.
It's
like
happened.
there's almost
and this travel, I think, is going to be a thing, right? I mean, look at these series, Crawly. Two of the series are cross-country flights, basically. Cross-country flights. Philly to LA, Seattle to Detroit. You talk about racking up the frequent flyer miles. Woo.
Yeah, I think, well, it'd be right. Detroit going to Seattle, and then they have to go back and all that stuff. But it should be interesting. But I still like Seattle. I still like
the other thing I really like, Crawly, based on the fact that the Cubs got extended to 3 games, is that they have this Saturday, Monday, and not Saturday, Sunday.
Well, for me, it's not
for
the
fans,
greatest thing
I
right
understand.
now,
For fans, it's not great. I get that. Okay, I get that. As like you'd rather have the 2 weekend games. Listen, Crawly, I'm not happy about an 8:08 start. Okay, and I'm not happy about that Thursday. Not only could Monday be an 8:08, Monday is an 8:08 start. Thursday could be an 8:08 start with the Dodgers playing in the early game in LA. Huh? What are we doing? That makes no sense.
Well, we when we started today, we got the schedule. You could see right there that the game 1 at Milwaukee is going to be
108 though.
108 Central Time.
Make sure, come on.
Central
What's the matter
Time.
with you, Crawly?
Eastern
What's with
time.
these times? You got to edit these slides. Come on.
Central Time, and then that's going to be on TBS and HBO.
HBO Max.
Yeah.
I said that to my daughter. She's way at college. She's like, HBO Max does sports. I'm like, it's a whole new world, kid.
Yep. Game 2 at Milwaukee on Monday, like you said, 8:08 p.m. Central.
Oh, this is like Blackhawks Western Conference Finals versus the Kings.
Dustin,
stand up. I have to stand up the whole game.
I'm telling you, here's the thing. The game's going to start at 8:08. Let's assume it's closer to a 3-hour game. That means the game gets out at 11. Then you have to get to your car. Have you ever tried to get out of Miller Park? Like, I'm not going to be home till 1 a.m.
Yeah, you may as well. I mean, you may as well just sit around and wait, or you have to leave in the 7th. But which I know you're not going to do. Right? I know you're not going to do that.
You know me better than that.
You're not going to do that. So you're just going to drive right to school. You just go right to school.
I have a friend that lives by school, so we're going to go to the game on Monday, and then I'm just going to crash at his place, so at least I can maybe get an hour extra of sleep.
Right.
It's not ideal, but hey, you know what? It's October. You got to bring it, right? And that includes the fans. Game 3 in Chicago at 4:08 Wednesday.
Perfect.
Not for me.
Perfect for me. Another 8:08.
8:08 on Thursday night.
Or 6:08, right? Or 6:08.
6:08 if it is the only game 4. And then game 5 at the Brewers, 3:38 p.m. Saturday, 7:08 if it is the only NLDS game 5. So, like I said, I don't know what they expect people's work schedules to be like, but I mean, it's hard to do these 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock starts. I mean, I know no one's going to cry for me or anything like that, but
you've got, listen, I mean, nobody cares either that I get up at 2:30 in the morning, but the 4:08 is much better than 8:08. Okay. That's like a night's basically 4 hours on when there's big games. When there's a big game, 4 hours is like what I get typically.
Yeah, this is going to be brutal, but hey, man, like I said, I have tickets for every game in the NLDS. I now have tickets for every game of the NLCS. World Series, we're going to try to figure out. But for me, this is one of the rare opportunities where I can travel and see a playoff game. I've never seen, for all the years of being a fan, I've never seen a postseason game in a park other than Wrigley Field.
All right, that's pretty cool. Well, good for you for getting to do that over the next couple of days. Some injuries, Crawly. Since we've been going, a little breaking news. Cade Horton not part of this roster. Cade Horton not part of this roster. I didn't necessarily think he was going to be, but He is not going to be.
Yeah, we don't have the roster yet, do we?
No, I haven't seen a roster officially, but I know that Cade Horton is not going to be part of it.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, Cade Horton is not going to be a part of it, and the other person not going to be a part of it is Brandon Woodruff, and that's a huge blow for the Brewers too.
Sure
That here, Dustin, a lot of people are talking about Game 3 and the idea of the ABS and the timing, and this was the controversial call right here. Brad Keller versus Xander Bogaerts. Pitch 6 was low and away. That was a 4-seam fastball, and Xander Bogaerts was beside himself. Did you see the video of?
Somebody's getting fined, and one of those guys, I believe, was a coach of some sort. That guy might need to be banned from the game. I mean, that was ridiculous.
So,
I love that they did it. I love that they gave it to the last two guys. So they didn't have the guts to do it right when the guys were coming down the steps. So once they were all 4 or 5 or 8, how many ever guys there are, were down in through the steps. Now this guy comes over the top. You better hold me back or I'm going to get you. I mean, give me a break.
Well, so for people that don't know, the umpire room is, you have to travel through the visitors clubhouse to get to the umpire room at Wrigley Field. And after that call, and Schilt had to come out and make sure Bogaerts didn't get tossed. And after it was over and the umps are coming out, like you said, they're
if
all
anything,
of a sudden
they should have been happy that both Bogaerts and Schultz weren't throwing out. Okay. Right then and there. That should have been, listen, guys make mistakes. Okay. You scored one lousy run in the game, a home run. That was not the difference in the ball game. And people say, well, Dustin, what if it was the other way around? What if that had happened to the Cubs? You'd be unconsolable. Maybe, maybe not. When I actually didn't give it to Craig when they scored 0 runs, despite the fact that he mismanaged, because they scored 0 runs. So what? Instead, they would have lost 1-0 instead of 3-0. I mean, I think
for someone like me though, who has been pushing for the ABS we've been doing the show now since 2002. I've been pushing for forever. It should have been something in there. And I'm just happy that, I don't think that this is what is going to be remembered from this. But I do think that it is that I'm very, because Dustin are such important games. That would have been an alter. It could have been altering there. He gets on a base different. We'll never. Maybe nothing would have happened. Maybe it would have been a double play. Maybe they get a single and tie it up, and now you have Mason Miller in the bullpen. I don't know, but these games mean too much. These guys work too hard. Not 162, but all the off season, all the spring training, everything they put into it to have a mistake happen. Now, when the technology exists to make it right. So I hope with the ABS challenge system next year, I hope that we can now get past this.
I would hope so too, Crawly. I would hope we can get past it, but I just don't want to hear that that strike was the difference in this series, because it was not. That's unfair.
The Cubs want it fair and square. I mean, yeah,
it's unfair.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's unfair, right? It is what it is, and that is not the case. This is season 4. It's episode 57 of the Fly the W podcast. Proud to be part of the Blue Wire Network. Cubs buses on their way north of the Cheddar Curtain, heading to Milwaukee. We got Brewers. We got Cubs. 1:30 pregame, 2:08 first pitch on the score. We'll have all the games for you, the local side. Don't forget, you can download, you can listen, you can review, subscribe, 5 stars. We'll take one of those. All right, Crawly, Cubs and Brewers, little preview. And the Cubs actually own the series edge. They were very tight this year, right? Very tight, but the Cubs own the edge.
Well, I called this morning because I was so excited. I called the Mully and Haw show this morning, and Mully asked what I recommend as far as places to eat. But every time I go to Milwaukee, I tailgate.
Right.
So I said
great lot. So you can bring your sandwiches from Chicagoland area and eat them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I said the brat stop on the radio, but when I think about it, I mostly tailgate. That's my recommendation for people. But yes, the Cubs did take the season series 7-6. And that's the interesting thing about this kind of rivalry. You and I talked about what Boston and Yankees and Detroit and Cleveland. These guys, you can throw that record out the window. They know each other. I don't think that home field really is going to be that big of an advantage either way, in my opinion. I think it's going to be interesting when the whole Craig Counsell factor, to have Craig Counsell coming back to Milwaukee, bringing the Cubs, and Pat Murphy, who was his mentor, is now leading the Brewers. Trust me, I've been to plenty of Cubs Brewers games since Craig Counsell's been there. The amount of boos he gets when his name is announced. There's people, I know this guy that I see every time I walk out of there, that if the Cubs lose, he flies this big giant L flag, the blue L flag with the white in it, and it has Craig's face on it.
Wow.
Like, that's how much these guys hate.
I would
Craig
say
Counsell.
get me a picture of that, but I don't want there to be that when you leave one of the games.
I do have a picture of it on my phone. I'll send it to you.
All right.
Maybe when the season ends, just because
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. I just don't want it to fly. I just don't want it to fly anytime
soon.
Yeah, no time soon.
Now, the Brewers finished the season with a 97-65 record, good for first place in the NL Central. At one point in the season, the Brewers were 6.5 behind the Cubs for first place, but Milwaukee went on a tear in July and August. And at one point, they won 14 consecutive games from August 1st to August 16th. So, Dustin, when I look at this team, though, the one thing that I keep thinking about, I for those that don't know, my family has a house up in Wisconsin that my parents live in, and I go to Wisconsin a lot, and I have a lot of friends that are Brewers fans up there that we kind of rag on each other, obviously. But they every time they would win, they would be texting or chirping from across the yard, this and that. And I said, hey, careful, guys, you don't peak too early. This is the one thing I said. Careful, you don't peak too early. Because in July and August, that's a run like I've never seen before. Okay. They went 16-9 in June, 17-7 in July, 21-9 at home. But, Dustin, they went 12-12 in September. I'm just going to throw that out there. 12-12 in September. They were 7-5.
And what have they done in the postseason in the past, right?
Right. They're 7-5 at home that month and 5-7 on the road. So that's just something that I'm just kind of telling people, like, when you look at that, there was a lot of bad losses. They didn't look that good. And if you remember, they lost 2 or 3 to Cincinnati to end their season, right? Mm-hmm. They lost 2 or 3 to the Padres. They lost 2 or 3 to the Cardinals. They lost 3 series in a row coming into this break. Now, the loss of Brandon Woodruff is really, really bad for them, just like the loss of Cade Horton is really, really bad for the Cubs. But, Dustin, the advantage that the Brewers now have is that with the series, when you have these off days opposed to the wild card series, when you have the off days, you can kind of spread it out. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that you kind of take a look at. But when I look at things right now, I mean, they're 2 really good teams, and the guys that worry me, I would say more than anything, you know, I wouldn't say we would look at a hot or not just because the Brewers haven't played in the last, 7 days?
Right.
But if you were, when was the last they played? Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be 6 full days. And then if you really want to dig into it, you know, if you looked in the box score, like, you know, how many innings, how many at bats did guys take on in that game on Sunday?
Right. And so, you know, they had a couple guys that were hot coming into it. Danny Jansen's a catcher. Joey Ortiz was doing pretty good, but they weren't that great. And some of their guys that were guys that were playing every day, your Jackson Churios, your Isaac Collins, Sal Frelick, William Contreras, they were really struggling at the very end. The numbers didn't look good. The other thing about William Contreras, who's someone that always haunts the Cubs, is that he has a bruised left hand, and he just hasn't been the same this season because of that hand. So I think that's kind of something to kind of keep an eye out. Now, when you take a look at the starters that the Brewers are going to put out there, we know the game 1 starter, right? We know the great game 1 starters, Freddie Peralta.
He's good.
He's really, really good. But last time I saw Freddie Peralta personally, that was when the Cubs avoided the sweep in August, and they crushed him. That was Shota versus Peralta, and they absolutely crushed him in August. So I don't know. The thing that I kind of take a look at that worries me is the Brewers running game. They always seem to run a lot. And you saw the Padres did a lot of running on the Cubs as well in the wild card. That, Dustin, is what has me nervous, is that they run a lot and they make a lot of bat to ball contact. And so they got a lot of good young guys. You know, they got Caleb Durbin, they got Bryce Terang, they got Sal Frelick, and there's nobody that you sit there and you're like, ooh, I'm scared of this guy, right? But they just seem to play good team ball.
Yep.
And so
they're good at a lot of the little things that don't really jump off the page, right? But at the end of the day, they keep you high in the standings, and they've got you in a good spot, which they are in.
Now with Peralta, he was 17-6 with a 2.70 ERA, and then Quinn Priester, right? The pride and joy of Cary, Illinois. 13-3, 3.32 ERA. These guys are big strikeout pitchers, especially Freddie Peralta. I don't know, what they're going to do afterwards. Jacob Misarowski, he was phenomenal, or he kind of came out of the gate gangbusters, but he hasn't been that great lately. They said he's not going to start. So I'm just curious kind of what's going to happen after, Peralta and Priester, but those are two tough guys to beat. And we've heard nothing from the Cubs as far as rotation so far.
No,
but I will tell you, Matthew Boyd was up in the 9th inning.
Right. But he was probably just, I think it's got to be one of three, right? Can we get it down to three? It's either Boyd, right? It's Boyd, it's Assad, or it's Colin Ray.
You don't think Shota's going to get a start or have an opener?
No. I'm talking about game one, Crawly. I'm talking
game one.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shot Shota gets game one. Right?
Wait, I mean, do you think Shota gets a start?
Assuming that it goes to 4, I would start Shota at home versus on the road. Well, I don't know, because Matthew Boyd. If Matthew Boyd goes game one, are we allowed to do this, Crawly? Are we allowed to talk beyond the first game?
We're allowed to talk. Yeah, we're not counting outs. We're not counting outs, Dustin.
Sorry, I don't know what happened to my camera, by the way. I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not an underwear model. You could bring if Matthew Boyd starts on Saturday, you could have Matthew Boyd again on Thursday. Matthew Boyd's been spectacular at home, right? I mean, Shota's really good, like most of the time. I don't know if the opener thing was the right move. And Tommy Hotovy did a great. I mean, Tommy Hotovy. Talk about salt of the earth, great guy.
Yeah.
Tommy Hotovy is A+. I mean, he came up to the booth. We did the game on Wednesday. Mully and Haw show did the game from the radio booth, and Tommy came up and he's like, boy, I haven't come up here in a long time since I used to chart pitches. I hadn't been up far up in the booth. It's like, it's a hell of a walk up here. And he talked about, listen, Shota, World Baseball Classic All-Star game has come out of the pen, but has he come out of the pen? I'd love to go back and look, like in the World Baseball Classic when he came out of the pen, what inning was it when he came in? What was there? Was the team he was throwing for? How big of the disadvantage? Were they at an advantage? I don't know if that fouled him up. I don't know that the opener is the greatest idea. God, if you were really that worried about it, if you really were that worried about it, you know what I would do the next time they think about it?
What's that?
I would go with Palencia. Okay, I'm just saying, Crawly, my point is, if you're really that worried about it, because he's done a great job coming in the 5th, right? Okay, and at the back, they've got Kittredge and Keller now. I don't think Palencia is getting a spot back in the 9th. So if you really were going to do an opener for somebody, why not Palencia if you're that worried about the top 3 guys?
Palencia has that gas and the ability to miss bats that I think you need at certain times, and I wouldn't like to burn that card right away.
I wouldn't either, but I don't know that I love the opener. Anyway, I guess my point is you can't save anybody.
No.
I mean, so would you pitch Shota? And if so, when?
That is what has me nervous. I don't know if I would. I'm not really comfortable with him.
Because Tyone's getting Wednesday, right? Tyone gets Wednesday.
You would assume Tyone gets
first
Wednesday.
Game back at Wrigley.
Yeah,
it's all about game 4, right? It's all about game 4. I have no idea. And does it matter if on the game 4 are you in a clinch spot, right? Or are you in a clinch spot, or are you in the stay alive spot, right? It's one or the other, right? Game 4, you're either in stay alive or you're in clinch.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go game 2. I would go with Shota, but boy, oh boy, would I have Javier Assad literally throwing in the 2nd inning.
Game
like
2, so you would go on Monday night, you'd go Shota.
I would go Shota, but I would have Javier Assad or Colin Ray, one of the two. By the 3rd inning, I would have those guys up and ready to go.
So, but then on tomorrow you wouldn't follow Boyd with Assad then or Ray.
You still got Soroka, right? You still
Right,
got
but I mean, are you using Soroka if you have a lead, or are you using Soroka if you're losing?
so again, you got a combination
So
of guys
many
like that.
scenarios. There's just so many scenarios. All right, let's keep talking about the scenarios. But Crawly, we got to get to the tail of the tape, my friend.
Well, really quick, before we do that, I mean, there is one thing I do want to talk about before we make our predictions. The bullpen. I think, Dustin, the question that I have, I don't think the bullpen is as good as what they saw with the Padres.
No, the Padres bullpen is superior to the Brewers bullpen.
Right.
Brewers bullpen good, not as good as
not great. And so the question now is, what do you believe? Do you believe that teams that get the bye are rusty, or that rest
I
is
believe
helpful?
they're rusty. I believe they're rusty. I think game one is so important, and I think game one can be had. I just hope there's no like eyes burning still from all the Bud Heavy and champagne that was poured in their eyes or consumed. I hope everybody's got a clear mind and a fresh body. I hope the beds tonight up at the Pfister or wherever the hell they're staying in Milwaukee are fantastic. But game one, Crawly, is when we talk more about it in football than I do in baseball, but I call it a must-win statement game. This is if the Cubs are going to survive and advance, I know mathematically I'm not accurate, but that's neither here nor there. This is a survive and advance, a must-win game. You got to win game one to win this thing in 5.
Win game one to win it in 5. So what then is your prediction?
I think the Cubs in 5. I think they split in both parks, and then they win on Saturday back up in Milwaukee.
That can you imagine? So I was there when the Cubs beat the Cardinals in 2015, and just the rivalry and the hate. Again, that rivalry goes way further back than with the Brewers, but with the Brewers lately, it's, for a generation of kids, the Brewers are probably as much, if not more, of a rival for, say, younger fans, say younger than 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be fun. I am going to go Cubs in 5 as well. I have a feeling
do they win tomorrow or no?
I'm not sure if they win tomorrow. I'm not going to be confident in that pick. Freddie Peralta's a really good pitcher. I want to see what Quinn Priester does under the lights. He's had a great season. Let's see what happens in postseason baseball. And, is there, like I said, the Cubs just sat there and fought their way to a really tough series. Are they going to carry that right away and just be able to punch the Brewers in the mouth before they know what's happening? I think, like you said, game 1 and game 2, I think if you can split it and get it back to Wrigley, that's what you want to do. And I think
you're going to feel real good. You're going to feel real good. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So Crawly and I both got them winning in 5. You've got a say, let us know via email, crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. All right, Crawly, that's a wrap. Don't forget, we want you to listen, download, review, subscribe. Got a 5-star review. That's fine. But let's keep each other entertained throughout this thing. Don't forget to follow Crawly on his socials. He'll be, you can live vicariously through him as he's going to hit all these games coming up.
Yep, I'll have plenty of sausages and some good old-fashioned tailgating. Thanks for everyone that chirped in. Steve Scher with the brown sugar soup for the win. Bobby Blanco, go Cubs, go. And even Jackson the Gamer, he says that the Royals, he's a Royals fan, but the Cubs are his dad's favorite team, and he loves the way that Dansby Swanson plays. So like I said, I'm going to be sitting there. We're going to be cheering for him. This is a lot of fun. Enjoy this while we have it, and go Cubs!
It's all over.